welcome back to the Charismatic Voice. I am here today with Melissa Bonny. Melissa, thank you so very much for taking time to chat with me today. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. How are you?
I'm pretty well, thank you. Um, I have a very important first question, which I already have like a sneak peek at because of our earlier conversation. So, tea or coffee?
Tea, 100%. And
Yes,
you? I guess
definitely
tea
tea.
too, right?
Oh, yes, for sure. Okay, so what have you got? What have you got in a cup today?
Well, I have this rooibos blueberry from South Africa,
Oh,
and I'm so excited to try it. What do you have?
this is just like a decaf Earl Grey today. It's morning
All
time.
right.
I like Earl Grey with a little bit of cream in the morning.
Oh, that's nice. I
Yeah,
like this. Yeah.
yeah, but that blueberry rooibos, oh, that's so good.
I think it smells amazing. But it's still a little bit warm for me. I'm gonna be
Oh,
like, oh my
but
god,
no burn. Yeah, no burning.
no.
Well,
No.
you know,
But yeah, soon.
I've been reading a lot about you. Of course, to prepare for these interviews, I really like to read a lot
Uh,
about the people that I'm going to get to talk with. And one of the things I noticed is that you were born in Switzerland, but now you're
mhm,
in Denmark. And I didn't
mhm.
see like how you got there. So I was wondering if you could kind of fill in that gap for me.
Of course. Well, actually, I'm born in Switzerland and I grew up there, and I did some kind of road trip. I stopped first for 6 months in Austria, and
Mm.
then I went to Denmark. I first left Switzerland because I decided to switch from having music as a hobby to being a professional musician. And it's Switzerland. It's so difficult because
Oh.
you need you need a Swiss salary to live in Switzerland and not a European one. And when you're a European musician, you get a European salary. And for example, just the rent for an apartment in Switzerland is crazy expensive. And then you have your insurance and your car and everything. And it was just not possible. And I decided that leaving Switzerland would give me the possibility to live out of music, and I chose Austria because I had a project with a friend there,
Hmm.
and in the end, I moved 6 months after to Denmark because of my partner living here.
Got it. Got it. Got it. And are your family still in Switzerland then?
Yeah, 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 they are.
Oh, that's lovely.
The most they've moved since I was born is like a few hundred meters from one house to another.
Oh, oh, that's really fun. I had no idea about. I knew that the currency was different, but I was just thinking, oh, still Europe. I didn't realize that there would be as much difficulty being a musician.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, there's already a big difference between Switzerland and the neighboring countries like France or Germany or
Hmm.
Austria.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Now, did you grow up in the French-speaking part, or yeah?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I,
Can you tell?
yeah, I was like, I think it's the French, the little slight French accent. Yeah,
No.
it's just a tiny
Trying to
bit.
hide it.
Oh, it doesn't affect your intelligibility at all. I understand absolutely everything, and it just
Good.
has like a cute, like a shade of like cuteness.
Ah.
Essentially, it's pretty and elegant too.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, I don't know if I would get rid of it. It's really nice.
Oh, where are you located actually?
I'm in Tucson in Arizona, so
Oh,
yeah, it's
nice.
nice weather here pretty much all the time. Even in the summer when it's really hot, I don't think it's so bad. But
Yeah.
uh, as far as it's kind of hard to say. I have a lot of roots in LA. I lived there not too long ago, and I grew up in Washington State on a farm.
Wow.
So it's like, yeah, I traveled a lot,
Yeah.
a
Wow.
lot, and but now based in Tucson and really loving being here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. I've never been in Arizona or in California. I've been only in New York and Florida. Yeah.
Oh,
But I would love to see more of the United States,
yeah. I read that you
especially
really.
California, mostly.
Oh, right. I mean, you should tour here. I think you should tour here. Let's make that happen.
Yeah. Well, we're trying. We're trying, and we're trying to plan it for very soon. But it's not entirely up to us, because when you're a new band, you cannot just decide to tour the entire world whenever you want. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
but
I
it's
have
fun.
a question on how to pronounce, actually. So I think I probably went through like 10 billion pronunciations, and some people said it was this way, some people said it was that way. So I say ad infinitum. That's
Yes.
yes, okay.
Yeah.
But there was a large part of me
I've
that was
heard.
like ad infinitum, right?
But that's very German,
Yes,
right?
or like very like German/Latin also.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But I've heard so many so many versions. There's people who are so confused. They were like, ad infinitum something. It was like, yeah, close enough.
Works. I understand that. Where did that name come from? Especially like the Latinness of it.
Actually, I spent like, I don't know, half a year finding a name for that band. And and I had this name in mind since pretty much the beginning, because um I had in mind this song from Camelot with, March of Mephisto. There's this Latin part at the beginning, and he's speaking blah blah blah, and then he's like ad infinitum, and I was like, oh, that's a cool band name.
Amazing.
And that's the story of it.
That makes a lot of sense. Because you were really inspired by Camelot, right?
Yeah, it's one of the bands that got me into metal, along with
Oh.
Nightwish, Within Temptation, Delane, Lacuna Coil. So
Mm.
yeah, I've been listening to Camelot a lot.
Now,
To Camelot a lot. To Cam a lot. Sorry.
that was great. Oh, no, they're amazing. They're really amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, are you familiar with Seventh Wonder by chance?
Yes, I am. Oh my God. I discovered Seventh Wonder when Tommy joined Camelot, and I discovered the song Alley Cat.
Mm-hmm.
And I was amazed that I was listening on repeat and repeat and repeat. And I was like, oh, this voice. Yeah.
That makes me really
And-
happy. I feel like they're one of those other
okay.
bands out there that is just not as well known, but should be.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so let's go back to young you. I saw you were listening to Evanescence when you were younger as well. Like, what were
Yeah.
you listening to, and when did that transition to getting into metal happen?
Oh, I listened to so many things. Like, for example, I started um, at a young age with Britney Spears, the Spice Girls, and then moved to Rihanna. Rihanna was my favorite singer for a long time, and then Shakira. And then when I was a when I was a teenager, I started to listen to reggaeton and to dance. When
dancehall
you
music.
are trying to modify your ID to make people believe that you're 18 in Switzerland was 18 to get into a nightclub. So I was trying to modify my student card to get into a nightclub and to dance on reggaeton. And then I had this I started to listen to more rock music when I was around 17, 18.
Mhm.
And I met a guy who introduced me to Nightwish, Camelot, Rhapsody, and all this. When I was around 18.
Ah,
So it was a worth it relationship that didn't last long, but that introduced me to metal.
you're like, good job. You had a positive impact.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so then it wasn't that you grew up on metal, it was that really as a young adult you started digesting it and
Yeah.
just had kind of an instant love for it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's pretty funny because my father, he's into that kind of, I mean, more like rock and all the the classics like Pink Floyd or
Mm.
Bruce Springsteen, that kind of music that kind of appeals also to rock stages.
Mhm.
And but I wasn't really interested in this. And then when I started to play concerts, with my first band, he started to buy DVDs of concerts of these artists and play them super loud at home. And then I got into these artists as well, if
Hmm.
that makes any sense. In my head,
Yeah.
it's pretty clear, but I don't know
No, that
if
makes
that
total
came out
sense.
clear. But yeah, he started to listening to blasting that music at home. And I was like, I discovered, yeah, I love, yeah, especially Muse, for example, that I discovered afterwards. And I love them.
Right. Yes. I discovered Muse around the same age actually. And
Yeah.
yeah, wow. I remember like just being like, whoa, they're really good.
Yeah.
Amazing vocals.
Yeah.
So that's really fun to think about also then your father influencing that musical taste as you were growing up. When did you first start playing in a band?
In 2012,
Okay.
I joined my first band.
Okay, got it. And so that wasn't quite metal. It was like more towards, well, you've always been a singer-songwriter to my understanding. But was that like more towards the rock side before you went into metal?
I briefly joined a cover band in 2012, like beginning of the year, doing like Evanescence or
Ah.
what was it, Nightwish and that kind of stuff. And but at the end of this year, that's funny because you know this guy I told you about who introduced me to metal. His best friend was looking for a singer
Mm.
for his band,
Mm-hmm.
and I auditioned and I joined the band, and that was my first metal band. And yeah,
You're like, okay, here we go. We're gonna do this.
yeah.
So I also read a little bit about your training background because of course I'm very interested in
Mm.
vocals. I want to know how you're doing, what you're doing, how you sound so good, of course.
Oh, thank you. Oh my
So
God. You know what? It's actually very nice to hear from you because I know that your background is much more impressive than mine. So I was like, oh, I don't know what to say because it's not incredible, but I've done I was in a school choir first when I was around 6 years old, and I don't know, probably for a few years, like 5 years, something.
mhm.
I don't remember. And um, then I left because school choir when you're a teenager, it's not so or early teenagehood, it's not so interesting anymore. You cannot sing exactly what you want. It's more like school songs. So I stopped and then I started making music on my own, learning how to play a few chords
Mhm.
to sing along. And and it's only when I joined my first metal band that I started to take lessons again from a private teacher um, to learn the basics, like breathing techniques and sustain. You say sustain, right?
Oh yeah, how to
Like
sustain a
position and
line. Mhm.
yeah, and then further techniques that I wanted to learn.
That's cool. I one of the things that I love the most about your voice is the balance and tone, and also I also really love your lines. I think that it
Thank
just
you.
shows like a lot of class at the same time as you have this amazing balance of like a fluffy airiness that's there, but then a ton of cut in the sound. It's such a beautiful tone quality. I really think that you have one of the most naturally beautiful tone qualities. And I was curious, is that
Oh, thank
something
you.
you feel like was mostly natural that you just kind of had at the beginning, or did you work on developing that a bunch with your teacher?
Um, that's a good question. I feel like um, I've always been singing, so I've always tried to develop my voice. But I feel
Hmm.
like when I worked with this teacher, it really made a big difference because you start to learn about how to color your voice, if that makes sense. You know
Hmm.
to give some intention, some emotion, and to know the different techniques that you can use to reach a goal or to reach a note and to make it interesting, like that you're telling a story, not just singing some notes. So I really feel like this work that I did with her, it really helped me a lot.
Hmm. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Uh, and did you do dancing when you were little?
Yeah. I did.
You did? Okay. Your movements in the music videos I've seen are so almost like a ballerina or a contemporary dancer at times. It's so
Well,
beautiful. And I thought, oh, she must have done
thank you.
dancing.
But it's so funny because there's some people who think that I'm choreographing these things, and I'm totally not. It's just like sometimes, for example, we shot this video for the song Animals with Ad Infinitum, and um and I was just moving naturally, and then at some point I realized, what am I doing? It's like, am I in a club or something? And I had to tone it down a little bit, but it's just the way I feel when I'm singing. Yeah, I don't know. But I've taken lessons of modern, not modern dancing. In I don't know how you call it for real, but in Switzerland we call it hip hop.
Yeah,
I
hip
don't know if
hop.
it's the real. Okay, is the
Uh-huh.
real name also okay?
Uh-huh.
And but I've done also 10 years of gymnastics,
Oh, wow.
and I guess that's that complement each other.
10 years of gymnastics?
Yeah,
Whoa. Did you do competitions?
yeah. I
Wow.
mean, not individual. I've done actually we had every year we had this little competition within the club,
Mhm.
but we've done competitions like national competition with the club, and you were just competing against the towns in your area.
Mhm. So are you going to put a back handspring in your next video?
Yeah.
That would be cool. That's so awesome.
Oh my god, it would be so cool actually to kind of mix. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you bring
I
a
could
little
talk to
Lindsay
the video.
Sterling, you know?
Oh, she's so amazing, by the
Right?
way. She's one of my favorite performers, and I always say if one day I can collaborate with Lindsay, I would love it. She's
Oh.
just so amazing, and when I was about to create Ad Infinitum, I had her in mind, and I was like, looking at her career and what she did, and she's done all these videos. She's also done a lot on her own, like editing the at least the first videos she made, and I was like, this girl is just so hardworking. I love it.
Mhm. And you're crazy hardworking too. I feel there's so many
Oh, thank you.
similarities between you and Lindsay in the way
Oh,
that multi-talented. You're doing songwriting, you're doing singing, dancing in the videos as well, choreography question mark, and then production, and also you're using a lot of more, I would say, like modern tools to promote and create music, things like crowdfunding. And I know you also have a
mm,
Patreon to really be
yeah.
involving your audience. I think it's so impressive when I was reading about you that you crowdfunded essentially the first album of Ad Infinitum. So, can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit about what brought that idea to mind, what the process was like? Are you going to do it again? What do you see the future of crowdfunding for bands to be? All of that good stuff.
Oh, well, I did it because first, I wanted to make a very simple EP, 4 songs, 5 songs, and very homemade. And then I started working with a producer because I was not able to do anything else in the voice properly because I'm
Mm.
not a guitar player, I'm not a drummer, and this project kind of evolved, and I needed the funds,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
And well, I was not able to finance the whole album on my own, and at that point I was still alone in the band. It was still supposed to be a solo project, and I just it's so funny because I decided to start the idea of the crowdfunding, and I didn't know if that would work or not. So I already planned, that with this platform that I used, if you don't reach your goal, the money that people pledged goes back to the
Yes.
people.
Mhm.
And I already planned that, okay, if I'm like a few thousand Swiss francs away, I'll put it to reach the goal. So then I can continue the project and I have some funds.
Mm.
And in the end, in just a few days, we reached the goal, and then it went even above, and I was so amazed. And there were so many people helping and following the thing. And it's so funny because there's some people who've been following from the very beginning, and who are so involved, and so like it's like they are part of the band somehow, because
Mhm.
they've been in there like with me from the beginning, and now with the whole band. And it's so cool because it created some kind of community that you don't have if you just um, start with a big label and without any um, contact like this with the people before. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Coming from like California area and having lived there for a long time, a lot of my friends have done some sort of crowdfunding, and some very successful, some not as successful. But the thing that it seems to be amazing at, besides making it possible to do a dream project, is it's essentially amazing publicity to connect you to the people that want that product, and they can help
Mhm.
you continue to design it sometimes, like in the case of like play testing various games or something, right?
True.
Right. And I've seen some amazing campaigns where people are essentially not even dependent upon it for the funds when they're doing like their later projects, but they're using it to get their audience excited about being a part of it. And it's so cool.
Oh, that's so cool. um I don't know honestly if we would do it again the
Mhm.
same way. Probably if we do it again, it would not be the same way, because we did a lot of handcrafted stuff.
Mm.
And
Oof.
we didn't expect there would be so many people buying these packages.
Uh-huh.
And oh my God, I was so happy in the end that I was not alone in the project anymore, and that my bandmates were there. Because, for example, I was I was doing handcrafted bracelets,
Mhm.
and the drummer of my band was he had these wooden boxes where he was craving the name of the band, and he did like 75, and I did 75 bracelets to
Whoa.
put in these boxes, and it was crazy amount of work. And yeah, I mean, we would, if we do it again, we'd definitely make our lives easier by not doing handcrafted stuff.
I bet those go for a lot on eBay now.
Probably.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it's so funny because there's some people who said, "Will you do it again?" And we're like,
You're like, nope. It's a lot of
no
work.
boxes anymore."
That's amazing. Did you keep a bracelet and a box for yourself?
I think Nick has a few left at his place. Yeah, but I don't have anything here actually. I sent him everything, and he handled the shipment of the boxes all around the world.
Oh, that's a tough job. Fulfillment? Ooh, that's a tough job.
It
Very, yeah, it's so much
is.
work.
Yeah.
Well, really nicely done. Do you think that crowdfunding or sort of Patreon too, I would look to that. Do you feel like these tools are um, going to be just a part of bands in the future, or do you see new tools evolving? I see so many things in the music business shifting. So since you've done a lot with it already, I'm curious what you think.
Um, for crowdfunding, I think it's been around for a while now, and it's a good tool when you don't have, for example, the budget from a label. So I think this is definitely going to stay.
Hmm.
Um, and Patreon, I see Patreon growing more and more and more, and that's so cool because, for example, um, from a personal experience, that's what saved my 2020.
Oh,
Because otherwise, I just moved to Denmark, and tours got canceled and everything. And if I didn't have Patreon, I would have had to find a job in Denmark right after moving and not knowing the language, and it would have been so complicated. And instead, I've been able to work on another album and an acoustic album and some collaborations and music videos and online live shows. So it's been a lifesaver, and I'm so so grateful. And now I see that the platform is growing. More people are getting to know it, because when I started in 2019. People were still like, what is it? What am I really trusting this platform? This is new. Now people, like a lot of major artists, are on it as well.
hmm.
And I mean, when I say major, I mean in metal. I don't know about pop music or other genres, but in metal, I see more and more bigger artists getting on the platform and and making it grow. And I think it's really, really cool. And it's also a very cool way to have a direct contact with the people who love your music the most, and to also have their opinion, and also to to um to thank them a little bit more, how do you say, um exclusively of their support, for their support.
Yes. Yeah, it's an amazing, amazing way, I think, to connect with super fans.
Yeah.
I hear that sometimes you play Among Us with your patrons too. Is that true?
Yeah, I was, you know what? I was looking at your shirt. I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Yes, I love this. This is one of a Christmas sweater I got
Oh,
a
this
while
is
back.
so cool. I'm so jealous right now. You know what? I think I need a shirt like this.
You probably
If you
do.
don't mind, if you don't mind.
Okay. I'll have to ask the husband where it came from and see if it's still.
Oh.
But so I really have a burning question, which is
Okay.
how does a person like me get the honor of being friendly slain by you in Among Us?
Oh my God, you can be invited anytime. Of course, this is so cool. I love playing this. You know, usually we're on Zoom at the same time with the patrons,
Mm-hmm.
and we're playing, and it's so funny because sometimes, I mean, you can read on my face so easily, and so I have to turn off the camera because people are just looking at me and they're like, "You're lying." But it's so cool. So we were playing and when we were on Zoom at the same time and discussing, and yeah, it's great fun. It's hard to stop though, because
Right?
you just keep playing and playing and playing. But if you want to join, you're welcome.
That would be really fun. We play also with our patrons. I think it's every Friday that we usually will play, kind of depending on how busy we are during that time. They'll always play, and then sometimes we'll join in. But it was really fun. And then they said, "Do you play sometimes?" And I was like, "Oh, no way." Okay, so that's gonna happen.
Yeah. Oh my God. And I have to schedule the next one because it's been a long time since, because we had the release and we haven't done it last month. So it's time to do it again.
Yeah, and they just made a big update, I think.
Oh, did they?
I heard about it from some people yesterday, where I think you can like pretend to be somebody else for a little while now.
Oh, this is a game changer.
I know. Oh, so you get to impersonate somebody, and then go slay another person and be like, "Oh, well, it was them."
Wow.
Right?
Oh, this is gonna make things very hard, and this is great.
I'm pretty excited. Okay, so you like video games, you like epic movies, you like Egypt and vampires. Are these all the things that inspire your lyrics?
Sometimes, for example, the vampires inspired the last album of Ad Infinitum, because I mean, not really only the vampires. We decided to base the lyrics on the life and afterlife of Vlad Dracula. And I mean, because there's so much to say, because for some people he was a national hero, and for some people he was the opposite, because they were on the other side of history. He was Vlad the Impaler, the horrible guy. And for a lot of people, when you say Dracula, it's like, oh, vampires, before thinking about the guy who actually lived. So we thought these are three aspects that can create an infinite source of inspiration for lyrics. So yeah, and but yeah, I like a lot of movies and series and video games. Video games I used to play a lot, and now a little bit less. But I wanted to ask you what those two swords are, because they remind me of some stuff, but I don't know.
They're from my favorite book series. So those are Shard Blades. Brandon Sanderson's writing I love a ton. So it's from the Stormlight Archives. So anyhow, and they are LARP worthy. So we can like fight with them, and it would be fine. We wouldn't die.
This is so cool. They
Yeah.
kind of reminded me of weapons I used to have in World of Warcraft, and I was like, is it from there?
Maybe, right? Ooh, no. But I do have a Lilith statue from Diablo 4, which is not yet
Oh,
released, right? But she's over there, just in the
oh,
corner.
cool.
And so Game of Thrones obviously inspired Jenny of Oldstones, which was
Mhm.
amazing.
Thank you.
Did you read the books too? How did you come upon that song? Obviously, like that wasn't in the books. It was in the 8th season, and you did
Mhm.
such a beautiful rendition of it. But yeah,
Thanks.
how did that inspiration come about?
But I think it's the most random story of my entire career.
Oh, really?
um, yeah, because we had this so Hans from Feuerschwanz,
Mm-hmm.
um we were in contact because of the Ding video, because we collaborated. I did guest vocals and also video for Feuerschwanz. And so they released this video last year. And we also released Marching on Versailles from Ad Infinitum last year.
Mm-hmm.
and and randomly one day I was at home and I text him, hey, the first one reaching 1 million views on YouTube can give a dare to the other. And he's like, okay. And so they reached the million first, and he said, okay, so the dare is you have to record a cover with me. And I said, well, that's pretty cool. I'm in.
Yeah.
And and so he was doing this series of covers from Game of Thrones that were mainly instrumental, I think.
Mm-hmm.
and and he said, oh, I have this one, Jenny of Old Stones, and I really want you to sing on it. And we recorded it. And then when it was done and mixed, out of curiosity, he sent it to the manager of Feuerschwanz, who sent it to Napalm Records, and Napalm Records reached out and say, hey, how about an album of this? And we're
Whoa.
like, well, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it is so random because it's just a stupid idea, like, oh, I'm gonna write to Hans and say, yeah, the first one reaching 1 million wins. And this could have not happened very, very easily, but it did. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you're singing with a lot of bands at this point. I was trying to keep track of them. I think you have 3 main bands you're singing with, and it's Dark Side of the
Two.
Moon, Ad Infinitum, and
That's it.
that's it. Okay. I thought there was a third one in there at some point.
Okay, I was in a band called Rage of Light
Oh, yep, that's the other one.
until early 2021.
And then you're just like, 2 bands is enough.
Yeah, but no, but, yes and no. Actually, the thing is, I've been in this band for a long time, and we started by releasing an EP and a lot of videos and singles, and it was kind of it was supposed to be a studio project and very casual and take it easy
Mhm.
and yeah. And then we signed with Napalm Records and we made an album. And after this, everyone was at a point in his life where we didn't want to make a second album. We just wanted to take it easy again and release maybe one single here and there with a video. And that's what we decided in 2020. And it was okay for everyone in the band. And then beginning of 2021, we started to think again, and the guys were super super motivated to write a second album. And I was like, yeah, I'm still not really into it, because I have Ad Infinitum, we have this album release, and then there's the Dark Side of the Moon, and I have too much, and I would not be able to do anything before 2022. And then again, not even sure that I could like jump on this train right away, because it's a lot of work.
Mhm.
So we decided that it was better for everyone that we part ways and they find a singer who is available completely, like 100% for them, so they can work right away on the album, and I don't have the pressure of knowing that people are waiting for me.
Yeah.
Especially because they're good friends, so it would not have been very fair.
Yeah, that sounds like it was such a great conversation, like just really good communication that you had together, that really preserved that good relationship.
Yeah. No, it was important because we're good friends, and we didn't want to reach the point where you start to fight and lose the friendship and the
Mm-hmm.
band. So
Mm-hmm.
it was important. Yeah.
So, what do you think makes a good band member?
Good communication,
Mm-hmm.
honesty, good musicianship. I mean
Yeah.
skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skilled.
and and a goal, a common goal.
Ah. Ooh. There you go.
Yeah.
That's good. It's interesting. It seems like having that communication and a good vibe together, even if the musicians are amazing, if you don't have that mutual respect, it's just hard to
Mm.
make something as dear and wonderful and intimate as music together if you don't have that respect going on.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Mm.
It's so important to be able to speak your mind and in a respectful way, because there's sometimes little frustrations here and there, and if you don't speak about it, then it grows inside of you, and then it explodes someday, and there's no coming back from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. You also are doing a ton of collaborations or at least you have done some, and I know you have some that are coming up soon.
Hmm.
Uh, how do you approach those? Are those things that are usually suggested to you, or you know somebody in the band, or how does that work?
um Sometimes, I mean, sometimes I know someone in the band, and they reach out to me sometimes. For example, the first Feuerschwanz collaboration came through Napalm Records because we're both on the same
Mm-hmm.
label. um yeah, and yeah, there's multiple ways of approaches. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've done some very cool things with Feuerschwanz.
Thank you.
It was really cool to look back and see all of the different people that you've collaborated with, and I feel like I see this happening lots and you're still kind of young. You just started doing this in 2012 and already you're getting a lot of really great collaborations, and it just makes me think like, okay, you seem like you must be a great person to work with to keep getting these
Oh,
repeats here, and yeah, your career is going beautifully. It must feel so good.
thank you. I really appreciate collaborations like this, because it's so nice to also get to know other musicians and other ways of working, and you learn so much. Like, I've learned a lot from um, observing how more experienced bands are working and are organizing things. For example, I remember this Feuerschwanz video shoot for Ding,
Hmm.
and it was so well organized and amazing, and then you kind of realize what they do, why they do it, and you apply it to your own band afterwards. I think it's so interesting, and also getting to know more people.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's cool. I love like how it can be just so inspiring to have just a couple new people in the mix, and all of a sudden the music you're making can shift together, right? It's like anytime you combine different spices in cooking, right? You're like, oh, that's something
Yes.
entirely new.
Yeah, exactly. It's like cooking. Yeah, yeah. More spices, the more the better. I mean, maybe
Ooh.
not with music, but in cooking, yes.
So, random question I just thought of. If you were a spice in cooking, but
Okay.
being put into music, like what kind of spice do you think you'd be?
Oh, wow. Um, oh, I was not ready for this one. Now I'm picturing my kitchen, and I'm like, first of all, sweet or salty?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think I would go for my favorite spice that I use all the time is this barbecue mix because there's so much flavor. And I feel like it would represent the growls plus the cleans plus everything. It's like this mix of everything. And you just put it everywhere.
Oh my goodness. Barbecue. I love it. Melissa is the barbecue mixed spice for any man. Oh, wow. Perfect. Okay. That was good. That was really good. Actually, let's talk about some of that vocal technique now that you mentioned the growls. So I want to know like all of the details of the voice case. Seriously, all of them. Don't spare a detail.
Okay.
So first of all, how do you think about your breathing?
Oh, that's so important
Mhm.
because that was, when I learned how to growl, that's the main thing I had to work on because it's so different than when you sing clean
Uh-huh.
because you're using so much air. And when when I learned how to growl, first I had to learn how to produce the sound. And
Mhm.
then when I understood how to make it, I started to train it. And first you're able to do one word, then two, then maybe a sentence. And what I was doing is I had this song from Arch Enemy, and I was working on it. So I was taking one out of two sentences every time. Like every second sentence I would sing, and then the next one would be to take like to breathe again.
Mhm.
And then when finally I was able to control this better, I could do an entire song entirely in growls.
Mhm. And what was that first way that you found how to make the sound? What were you doing to find it?
So I watched so many YouTube videos that were not helpful at all because the guys were just like, I don't know, they were explaining it so weird. They were like, yeah, it's like when you whisper but loud, and I was like, what? No, it doesn't work.
Amazing.
And then I found this video of a girl who said, you have to imagine that your mom is asking you to clean your room, and you don't want to do it, and you're like, yeah, yeah. And then she comes back half an hour later and she asks it again, and you're like, this the teenager sound. and then she comes back and you're even more annoyed, and you're like, and this is really, I was like, oh, and this just clicked, and this is how I learned.
This is one of the reasons why it's so much fun to talk to artists for me, because I'm gonna go try that like the rest of today. When you're making all the weird noises, like people need to make weird noises. It's so important. So I just expect that I'm gonna be an upset teenage girl around the house for the rest of the day. That's amazing. So, but of course, everybody's always scared to damage your voice when you're doing harsh vocals. So, how do you do it in a way that doesn't affect your true vocal folds?
Well, that's this thing about, the way she explained it. When you do this, you're not using your vocal. Sorry,
No, it sounds great.
You're not using your vocal cords. It's like it's really coming from the stomach and going through. You know what? I'm terrible at explaining. But it's just at no point you need to use you should use your vocal cords, because I hear sometimes some people kind of using their vocal cords at the same time to put some clean in it, but it can damage your vocal cords very easily, and you don't want that. So I think it's just this airflow going from the stomach.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's horrible to explain. I don't know how to.
No.
I don't want to explain something wrong, or that anyone watching this will understand something wrong, but basically avoid your vocal cords.
Avoid those ones. Yeah, no, it mostly, I think, because there's so little research that's actually been done on harsh vocals. There is a little bit out there. So, like we know that Like the vocal tract is just like a sphincter essentially. So you have different areas where it constricts for making different sounds.
Mm.
But people often can't tell the difference between like, oh, this is my true folds, which are like more right in here, right? And then above that, there's a couple other spots where you can constrict, like with the false folds or with the aryepiglottic folds, and so there's different things there. And I think like the thing that can be missing from explanations at this point is just what that feels like. Because I can say, oh,
Yeah.
constrict your aryepiglottic folds, but how do you feel that? It's hard. You can't, unless you have a camera down your throat, you can't
Mm.
see it. And
Yeah.
uh-huh.
I think the way it feels, it's like this very strong vibration,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost like it's so hard to explain without doing it. I would, when someone asks me, I'm doing it. I'm like, okay, it feels like this, but it kind of feels like there's bubbles. Like it's like
Ah.
this vibrations feels like
Uh-huh.
big bubbles. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, at least to me. And also, what I was very careful with is that when you start to train it, it very easily and very quick feels tiring,
Mm-hmm.
and it feels a little bit like it's becoming swollen a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but not in a way that should hurt. Like when it, I always told the people who ask me, hey, how should I learn? When it hurts, um, it's, you have to stop.
Yes.
That's the when you start to learn this, it will feel super demanding and draining, and you have to listen to your body, and that's the main point for me, and that was always the main point, because um yeah, I didn't want to damage my main instrument, which is my vocal cords and my clean singing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, do you think about shaping those growls in a particular way as well, like with your mouth?
Hmm.
Excuse me for the
Bless you.
sneeze.
um
Was it a cute sneeze? Was it okay, or was it like kind of scary?
no, 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 it was not scary.
Okay, good.
It was pretty cute.
So, yeah, I used my mouth to shape the sneeze, so it would go that direction. That was my head. And do you think about extending your lips out to try and deepen the sound, or baring your teeth to kind of bring in a snarl or anything like that?
um I don't do much with the lips. Sometimes when I want to do a super super deep growl, I will use the lips a little bit to maybe, yeah, I guess it kind of, I don't know if it works with the resonance, or if it's just that it makes the sound more narrow. But usually what I will do is, if I want to, I will just switch the placement of the growl, like a little bit like when you sing cleans. Actually, if I want to do a deeper growl, I will just place it lower, um, and um, and and if I and make it also more round. And if I want it to be more aggressive and high, I will place it higher, and also maybe narrow it, but
Mm.
like you would do with singing. Actually, when you
Mm-hmm.
want to sing higher notes, and you want to keep belting, you kind of narrow this
Mm-hmm.
passage. And I think I pretty much do the same work with growls.
That makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
completely. And when you're just singing cleans, is there a particular area of your face that you're aiming for to try to keep it continuous in the resonance?
uh, I'm not sure I research that much when I sing.
Well,
I think I don't really think of it that much.
mhm.
That's a tricky question.
How do you know? Like, I think a lot of people struggle with they'll sing something and they don't know if it's good. And so eventually, when you've been training a little bit, often you rely on
Oh.
certain sensations to say, okay, that sensation is when I sound my best. So I guess I'm looking for
Mm.
what's the sensation for you when you feel like, oh, that's a really good one, essentially.
Ah, okay. Um, I think when I can, uh, I think there's some zones in in my range, but I don't think
Hmm.
I think of it with the resonance. I think of it more with the with my like where I am in my range,
Hmm.
and in which zones I can do the most. If I want to add a little bit of vibrato, or
Hmm.
if I want to um, put more power. I think it depends a lot of where I am in my range rather than where I make this resound.
Uh-huh.
I know that, for example, when I go higher in my range, my possibilities with texturing my voice are narrowed. Like I cannot um,
Mm.
belt and then start a vibrato. It's
Hmm.
something that, I mean, it will work one time out of 15 maybe,
Hmm.
because it's very complicated for me. So I will have a harder time up there when I already have to think about pushing that high note, um, to texture the sound. So I feel like when I'm in a zone that feels comfortable, where I don't have to place, like when it's like right in the middle, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm really able to work a lot on it and to put some emotion to tell a story. I hope it
Hmm.
answers your question. I'm not sure
Yeah.
it's the right answer.
Yeah, no, totally, totally. I don't feel like there's because we're really talking about your experience of singing because you sound fantastic. So I'm really
Thank you.
looking to understand what it feels like to sound fantastic.
Oh, but you sound fantastic too. Come on.
Thanks. I feel like there are definitely times when I'm more successful than others. So, I think I have a video out there that's about the ugliest sound and how to make it. It's like,
Oh my God. Oh, that's so funny. That kind of reminds me of something that I did with my vocal coach when we were trying to reach those high notes, and she was teach me twang.
oh
And she was
yeah.
like, okay, yeah. She was like, okay, think about a witch. And I
Mhm.
was like, yeah, okay.
Mhm.
And she was like, okay, how does a witch laugh? And she was like, this.
Mhm.
And then you keep that sound and you start to sing with that sound, and then you bring it back to normal voice. And it was so funny because when you start singing with that witch voice, you're like, oh my God, I could hear it. I was sure that everyone in the neighborhood could hear it and would
Mhm.
be like, what is this? What is going on?
Right.
So yeah, I think that's the most horrible sound I've made while singing.
I think it's pretty amazing how we can make like some pretty terrible sounds just to
Yeah.
explore like what we're capable of, and then you add that sound to your palette of colors that you can sing with essentially.
Yeah, I think my neighbors sometimes hate me because I decided recently to train the whistle register,
Ooh.
and until you master it, it's a lot of sorry,
No,
and
totally.
and then finally you finally do it, and I'm like, oh, so now I'm gonna try every kind of melody. So I was taking these Disney songs, like for example Snow White, when she's cleaning with the little animals, and I was
Mhm.
doing this little melodies, like, oh my God. And I was thinking, my neighbors, if they are here and if they can hear this, they must hate me because I do it all the time now. Like,
Right.
I can do
Right.
it.
I love with whistle how sometimes when you're working in it, it just like cracks down. You're like, oops.
Yes.
It sounds like a young teenage boy or something. Just,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
oh, it's fun. That's one of the more funny things to train, I think.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
and it's so funny because you can think, like, it's like a lot of techniques where you hear it, you're like, oh my God, that must be so difficult, and you train it, and then you crack the code,
Mhm.
And then it's like, okay, next song I write, I'm gonna put this. Yeah.
That's really awesome. I love the idea of that. And I want to know what whistle register with growl on top sounds like.
Oh my god. Oh.
Seed.
What? Oh, that's a good idea. You know what? We're already writing demos for the third album without Infinitum,
Mhm.
and I will definitely keep that idea.
Man, if you make that happen, I'm gonna be freaking out. I just have to tell you, like, straight up front, it's gonna be really, really amazing. Yeah, that'd be really cool. But that, I think, is that like similar to how a pig squeal is done? Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure.
No, actually, Big Squill is more like, and I've never using it, so maybe I'm saying this wrong, but it's more like inhale, growl, and you're more doing some kind of like sound, you know.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I never use it, so it was terrible. But I have a friend who is doing it with his band, and when he sings, it's so impressive because he's this big guy, and he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. so interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Oh, that's kind of cool. It's essentially, well, it's not exactly the same thing as circular breathing, but it depends on who you're talking to about circular breathing. Anyhow, that's really cool. I feel like if
I'm not sure what that is actually.
there's sort of two ways that people will describe it. Circular breathing can be that you're breathing in while also like playing a wind instrument at the same time is one of the things. I've never figured out how to do that. I've heard it's doable, but I've never been able to do something like that. And then there's also sometimes people will use it when they're actually referring to somebody singing like while breathing in. So doing the same thing just with the breath coming in and out, which is totally possible. To train in that way. And there's some really interesting singers that do it and interesting cultures that employ it in their folk music too.
Oh, cool. I never thought about trying this. I don't know why. Like, I don't know. Sometimes you try when you're a kid to talk while inhaling, but I never tried singing.
Right. So I mean, it's really interesting that that's popped up in metal too. It's
yeah.
very explorative.
So when you're gonna be trying growling after this interview, I'm gonna try inhale singing.
Perfect. And then whistle growling too. I don't hurt anything. Okay, cool. You won't. That's so funny. Well, I have a couple other questions for you. I'd love to know about your pre-performance routine or like pre-recording routine. Do you do anything in particular for vocal health or to warm up?
When I record, usually I try to warm up as much as possible, but sometimes I warm up in the studio while the studio engineer is preparing the session, and he just puts the track. And I know it's not so good. I mean, I warm up a little bit before, but I mostly warm up while singing, softly first, not full power right after waking up. But I try to. I have this. I have this Laxvox straw.
Oh yeah.
And I bubble a bit. And I try to do it when no one is here, because otherwise people look at me and they make fun of me. So I bubble a bit and then I sing, and I can see that after singing the song a few times, I get a better feeling of it, and then it's like muscle memory. My vocal cords just know where to go, so I can add this extra texture or feeling that I want to, because okay, the notes are here. Now I can add this little icing on the cake, and all the sprinkles. Like I say, you have the cake, you can add the icing and all the sprinkles and then
some barbecue mix, right?
The barbecue. Yeah, the barbecue mix. Yeah, and also I drink tea and water. And you know what? I discovered that I made a big mistake during the last recordings. I was at Jacob Hansen Studios, and he has this amazing coffee, and I never or rarely drink coffee, but because he had this great coffee and he was making it every day, I thought, yeah, okay, I'm gonna drink his coffee because first of all, being polite and respecting, him taking the time of making coffee, and also because why not? And then I read that coffee is not the best friend of singers, and I was like, okay. And I could feel a little bit more struggle here and there, and I was like, where is it coming from? And coffee with milk is just or chocolate is the worst thing for me, actually. I
Oh,
think.
is that one
Yeah.
of the I know that that's a thing for some singers. I'm luckily not one of the singers that has a problem with chocolate,
Ah!
but I feel so bad for you.
I feel bad for me too.
Oh, chocolate before singing, no.
Yeah, when I'm in the studio, I cannot bring any chocolate because otherwise it's gonna be terrible. And it's I'm from Switzerland. Can you imagine the struggle?
Oh no. Oh, that's even worse. Oh, yeah, coffee though, I mean, some people have like more of a tolerance for it, but if you haven't been drinking it and you have some coffee, oh boy, oh,
Hmm.
like the caffeine surge. I mean, that would be one thing with a vibrato, but then I don't know, like if you like do tons of other hydration, like that can be dehydrating right away. You'd be like, whoa,
Yeah,
couple things in there.
yeah. I learned.
Yeah. Next time you're like, decaf.
Yeah. But what's your routine? I'm interested as
Oh,
well.
I mean, I do a good warm up. I also love straws. I feel like straws are just one of the most wonderful things that we've uh, discovered. We being like vocal science community, Ingo
Yeah, yeah.
Titze did some research essentially on various semi-occluded vocal tract exercises and showed that singing through a straw was amazing. And since
Yeah.
then, and when I first started singing through straws, I swear by them. I feel like
Yeah.
it's just so good. If I'm doing the hardest things for me to record, which just takes so much time, or when I'm doing an all vocal layered project. And that means that, usually at like 4 or 5 a.m., I'll wake up and I won't do a thing. I'll just go straight out of bed and go record some super low notes before they're gone, right? And sing
Yeah.
the lowest ones. And then as I go through the day, I'll actually warm up or, hydrate a bunch more before I go into a booth. And I really like to think about messaging before I go in the booth too, because I feel like it's easy for me to get really focused on just the technique. And I'll do some of that in the warm up, but right before recording, I like to think about, well, but what emotion is here? What am I actually communicating? So that's always been
Hmm.
important to me, especially with opera rolls. I would literally just journal about what my truth was that day. If it doesn't have to totally align with exactly what the character is feeling. I need to have something that's true in me that's like a subtext that I
Uh-huh.
would communicate. So
Yeah.
that was and still is one of, I think, the more important things right before delivering a performance.
Well, that's cool. I've never tried doing this.
Mm.
It's really nice.
It's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like you've already been really focused, though, on different emotional communication with your teacher, which is awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, I tried I I think it's this sometimes people make one comment that has a big impact on your career when they didn't even intend it to. And one day I had a comment that I mean, it was a friend who told me that a friend of hers told her um, that, yeah, Melissa, she released this song, and I mean, it's good, but the lyrics and the emotion of the vocals, they don't fit together, and
Hmm.
the also with the music. And I was like, huh. And I really, that now I think that's in subconsciously, yeah,
Subconsciously, yeah.
it it really stayed in my mind this whole time. And now, for example, if I'm singing about something sad, I will try to also make it clear with my vocals,
Mm.
so people, without even listening to the lyrics, they will understand that
Mhm.
it's that this is the emotion.
Yeah. Yes. I'm on board with that. 100%. I love that you also heard somebody essentially say a criticism, and instead of what a lot of artists can do is be like, no, that's not true. You just were open to that and turn it into constructive. Um,
Mm,
where, yeah, that's, I feel like, especially as an artist, when you're so attached to your art, or as singers, our voices are a part of us. They really become our part of our identity. So if
mm,
something is criticizing that, it's really easy to become super defensive and not
yeah.
listen to see if there's some value in what the person's saying. And it's also
Mhm.
hard to know who to listen to, because sometimes there really isn't any value in what somebody says. But it sounds like
That's
the
true.
right, right.
Yeah.
But that, I love the way that you thought about that and then shifted it.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult also to, like you said, to sort the constructive criticism and the criticism.
Hmm.
But I think sometimes it's very obvious the intention of the person, and if there's some real yeah, if there's something true behind the message, or if it's just meant to annoy or hurt. I
Hmm.
think it's yeah, when you see that the intention behind is pure, and that it's like meant to bring something better
Hmm.
to what you're doing, I think it's important to listen to this. I mean, it's also what got me to take private lessons in the first place, because when I started with my first metal band, your friends are like, "Oh, you're great, you're great. Your voice is beautiful," and there's rarely anyone telling you the truth. And what I needed to hear at that point, and what one guy did, was, "Your voice is great, but you don't have a proper technique."
Hmm.
And after crying, I called my vocal teacher. I mean, I called my vocal teacher from school, who connected me to my vocal teacher, who taught me everything. But oh, that was hard to listen. That was hard to listen to.
Yeah.
This, when someone tells you this in front of other people, but it was the best thing to tell me, I think.
Yeah, that's wow. That's again, respect to you for just being open to it. It's good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I loved this idea that a sort of a man who would do a lot of consulting for artists, young artists, and companies in opera. He would go around and he'd say, essentially, you need to establish your team. Think of yourself like a CEO and figure out who
Mm,
your advisors are, and then listen to them, because there'll
yeah.
be thousands of people that want to tell you how to sing something in a certain way. And ultimately, you want people that are the most knowledgeable and also most knowledgeable about your voice, so that the
Hmm.
advice that they give can be most applicable to you. And then I
Yeah.
appreciated that a lot, because I knew who to take advice from, and you let them beat you up, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, this comparison with the CEO and having your board
Hmm.
of specialists around, because that's so true. Um, and it's something that I see a lot with Ad Infinitum right now. We have our little team with, for example, we know who we will talk to regarding the sound, regarding the lights, regarding this, regarding that. Also, who is responsible for what with
Hmm.
all the organization, when we sign contracts, and all these things that we are not all experts in.
Yes.
And it's so good to know that you have these trusted people around you all along, like along the way, and not just for one specific task, but who are following the adventure with you.
Mhm. Totally. 100%. And, I feel like, for where we've evolved now, I feel that a lot of those people for me, that really can give me feedback on, like, a community opinion or, give me feedback on how they're feeling about a channel or something like this, are the patrons. So,
Yeah,
kind of bring it full circle back to them. And
yeah.
I love asking them for input on things that I just value their input a ton. They actually have some questions for you too. So
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna pull out the questions. I love this part. So Ruben wants to know, what sort of inspiration do you take from the previous or current version of female metal singers, and are there any that stand out to you?
Yeah. Um, I I think I took a lot of inspiration through the years. Um, oh, this is actually a very good question because just remember a particular situation where I was playing my first shows with my band, and I didn't know how to act on stage
Hmm.
because I had been on stage, but for different tasks, like for example, for gymnastics or dancing, or also singing with my guitar, where you don't move and you don't have
Mm-hmm.
to entertain the crowd. So I had no idea how to be a front woman on stage. And I remember watching live shows of, I watched probably a few of Delane
Uh-huh.
and Arch Enemy, and who else? Maybe probably Nightwish as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that I learned a lot from this. How to address the crowd, and what the amount of talking between the songs and all these
Mm-hmm.
things. And when it comes to one particular person who stands out for me, I think I would say Flora Jensen
Mm-hmm.
from Nightwish, because of her incredible technique, and also because her entire, um actually herself, she's shining through her voice, but also through her smile and her energy. And I think when I listen to her voice, I'm like, wow, she really can do anything. And that's the kind of goal, the goals as a vocalist. Like, I would love to reach that level, and I really admire her. Yeah.
I really admire her too. I think like
Yeah.
pretty amazing technique and yeah, I know what you're talking about. She has like a glow. She always seems to have a little bit of an inner smile, I feel like, in the sound. So there's like
Yes.
it has a way of relating, like an extra layer of emotion that is inviting and really wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. She
Yeah.
seems so warm and nice, and it makes you love her even more.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. Same train there. Quirky Uncle Dave wants to know, you have been very engaged with your fans and patrons since the beginning. Did you have any role models or mentors that helped you develop your approach? Or is it something you figured out on your own along the way? And also, what advice would you give to a new artist about how to approach audience engagement as a performer?
Oh, when it comes to Patreon, I think the person I learned from is Zora, the singer from Blackbriar,
Mm,
because she is one of because when I joined Patreon, there weren't many singers I knew on the
mhm.
platform. And I think I asked her some advice, and but then I had to figure out a lot of things on my own.
Yeah.
And when it comes to interaction, like direct interaction with fans, I think it's something you have to learn by yourself. Because, for example, for me, I know how I am socially, and what is okay, what is too much. Like, for example, sometimes I get overwhelmed because of the amount of messages, or because I feel like it's becoming too demanding for me to reply to everyone or to be there for everyone. So I think it's very important to
Mm-hmm.
make sure, like, what I learned is telling people, hey, if I don't reply right away, it's just because I have too much. And I think that's one of the advice I gave afterwards to one of my friends who is also on Patreon, because she felt like people would think she's mean if she's not replying right away,
Yeah.
or that people will think she doesn't care. And I said, no, it has to be clear that um, you every single person has um, a certain amount of energy and social ability to give every day or every week, and it's not mean to 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 be distant at some point because you have too much, or because you're having a bad day, or because you're sick or whatever. I think it's just important to make it clear to the people that you care very much about them, and that if there's no direct interaction for one day or one week, it's because of your own limits and energy.
Mm.
Yeah,
That
that would be my advice.
that was awesome advice. Yes. Very, very good. And accurate. I feel very. So Kirby wants to know, what do you enjoy most about being a musician? I love that he phrased a musician instead of a singer too, because we know that you
Yeah.
do so much production and writing and all of the other things as well.
Oh, I think, oh, that's very difficult to say, because there's 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 two there's two things that I really really enjoy. One is studio related and one is live related.
Mm.
I love the process of creating when I'm in the studio, and we're like, I will use the same metaphor as before, but you have the cake, which is the base of the song, and then you're putting some nice ad libs, and it's the icing, the sparkles, and the barbecue mix. You're putting all this when you have the base of the song, and you're like, okay, what kind of nice little treat can I add here to make it more interesting?
Mm.
And then when the song is done, the anticipation of sharing it when you're with the band, and you're listening to the mix, and you're like, oh, I cannot wait to share this because it's so amazing, because you're so proud, it's fresh. And with the live situation, it's, I mean, it's very basic what I'm gonna say, but it's this moment when you enter the stage and you start to interact with the crowd, and you have all this adrenaline, and
Mhm.
and people are excited, and it's just so nice. It's funny how the energy bounces back from crowd
Oh
to
yeah.
stage, and then it's just
Right? It's amazing.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's like an energy exchange that's happening. It's very special.
yeah,
Yeah. And I love that the way you can use an audience's quiet or hush, like at a charged moment. I like the way you can build that silence, and you can also build the like crazy loud cheering. Like they're both so
yeah,
charged with energy, even though the sound levels are totally different.
yeah. Oh,
It's
I'm
so
looking
cool.
forward to next time already.
Yeah, right. Oh, okay. Grail wants to know, if you could open for any band or artist on tour, who would it be? And I'm just going to tell you
Muse.
that Grail's one of his absolute favorites is Seventh Wonder. I should just probably mention that he was the person
Oh,
that
that's so
introduced me
cool.
to Seventh Wonder. So anyhow,
Oh, well, Muse.
Muse.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I know we're not the perfect opener for Muse, but still, Muse.
Okay, I get behind that. That's amazing. Oh,
I would love this so much. I said it already. I would play my set, then I would quickly like change, and then I would enjoy the show every single night, I think. I would be singing.
Was that your impression of his voice? That's
No,
what I
it's
would
the
say.
impression of me being a fangirl. I was about to sing longer, and then I thought, no, shut up, Melissa.
That's good. That's good. But that would be really cool. I would watch that. I mean, I would just
Oh,
watch you do your own show too. So just so you know.
oh, thank you.
Andy wants to know the first song with the Dark Side of the Moon, Jenny of Old Stones, came together because of a dare between you and Hans from Feuerschwanz. See, he knew that and I didn't.
Mm.
When did you feel that you were onto something bigger and decided to form an official project signed by Napalm? I think that's really interesting.
I think it's, well, I think it's it happened the other way around. It's Napalm who felt like they were onto something bigger and who asked us if we were up for an entire album, and then we were like, then we realized that we were onto something bigger. If that makes sense, it's like, maybe they're right.
That's,
Yeah,
that's cool. So like, even though, I mean, that again, that's a really cool video, but even though you'd made it and you're like, yeah, this is fun together, you were like, you didn't think about, oh, the crowd is gonna love this because it's Game of Thrones, right? And it took somebody else, it took your label essentially saying, hey, this is really cool. We think your audience is really gonna like it.
yeah, totally. Because first we were just like, yeah, we were making a cover together, and that's cool. Hey.
Right. Oh, neat. And
Yeah.
that's really cool then. That's a good example of trusting your people to give you good feedback.
Yeah.
Right.
Hopefully they're right. I mean, we only released this one song so far, so hopefully we do a good job for the next ones.
I'm eager for the next one. So I think that seems like it's probably gonna work pretty well. Hopefully.
Well, I hope, and it's one of my favorite songs from movies
Mm.
that we picked for the next one. And we're about to record and to shoot the video actually.
Ooh.
Yeah.
If you got a great location planned.
Yeah. Oh my God, we have this very nice location. I'm trying not to say too much because
Yeah.
depending on the description I will use, maybe you will know exactly what it is.
Mhm.
But maybe you know what, I'm gonna give you some clues, but I'm not gonna tell you if you're right or wrong.
Okay. I won't guess.
So
I'll just think it's cool and keep the guessing to myself so you don't have to give anything away.
Yeah, so I don't have to do the very bad poker face that I'm doing during Among Us. So we have this beautiful location in the forest with these stairs, big stairs in stone.
Ooh.
And there's a little lake right next to it. So it's like very magical. And I think that's all I can say so far.
I mean,
and we're doing this one with a guest, and it's so cool.
yeah, and it's so awesome when you have a location. I feel like when you find a location outdoors that's super inspiring or has that ancient feeling to it at the same time as being in nature. Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Me too. Me too. Well, what other things are you doing that are coming out that you can tell us about us, like albums that are being released or new projects? I know that by the time that this interview airs, I think that one is already going to be released, and you're welcome to talk about that if you would like to.
Yeah, sure. Well, we just released the new album with Ad Infinitum, the second album. And I recently recorded and shot a video with Feuerschwanz. And this is so cool because so there's obviously the entire band Feuerschwanz, plus there's Angus Mac5 to mention his stage name, and Alea from Saltatio Mortis.
Ooh.
And me, and we also shot a pretty epic video. And it's funny, you know what? We were talking with, I think it was with Hans. We were wondering why we are always shooting outside in the fall or in winter, because we always end up freezing. But the videos look great. But why don't we shoot in summer? You know, we were This very very old. It's ruins of a castle,
Uh-huh.
and everyone was all around the place, and I was standing on one of the remaining walls of the castle, and the wind was so cold on top of the temperature being cold.
Mhm.
So it's a nice effect because my hair is doing like but it was so cold. I was like and the video director was like, okay, we do another maybe 5-6 takes, and I was like, excuse me, why?
Hot chocolate.
Do you want your jacket? Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I do want my jacket.
I remember doing a video up on top of Mount Lemon, which is around here, and it was right after it snowed up, so it was high elevation and it was very cold. But
Okay.
um, yeah, at one point I was in like a ghost outfit, which is just white, like flowy dress, sleeveless, or yeah, anyhow. And the snow, it's just like it was so cold. I had problems shooting towards the end of it because I was trembling so hard. I was like, I
Oh
can't.
no.
It was so cold. It's hard.
Oh, I know the sensation. You know what? There's one of the videos I participated to, where you can see that my nose is red because of the cold. You can see on the video, and you're like, yeah, obviously, it was not summer.
Right. At some point, we're just gonna give up and like put like our red nose on and sing Rudolph instead. Right? That's funny. Well, okay.
Oh
So,
yeah.
how can we support you then in all of the things you're doing? I know there's tons of different ways to support artists. You can buy their music, you can stream their music, you can go to their shows, you can join their Patreon. But I think it's really important to ask the artist specifically, what's the best way to support you at this point in your career? Because some streaming numbers don't get back to you. Sometimes you want numbers to help boost a certain kind of video. So, what do
Mm.
you want for support right now?
Um, I think for my band, the best is, I see a lot of people sharing our videos and streaming our music, and it's just so great. Also, when people make stories with their new album or their new vinyl, and that
Hmm.
tells also other people that you actually you supported actively the band by buying an album and a vinyl,
Hmm.
talking about us, sharing our music, streaming our music, of course the merch. I mean, all of that helps, and and also when, for example, I see that um when there's reaction video, like people doing reaction videos, and people are like, hey, you should react to Ad Infinitum, and a lot of people discovered us through these reaction videos,
Hmm.
and it's so cool. And I always enjoy when I see people suggesting my band, because I'm like, oh, people are really into what we're doing, and they want other people to discover what we're doing, so it's so super cool. And you mentioned Patreon. Obviously, that's one of the for me personally, not for my band anymore, but for me personally, it's the best way to support my music, because of Patreon. I mean, thanks to Patreon, I've been able to invest a lot of time into Ad Infinitum,
Hmm.
and so also in other projects, and I've done some covers with friends, and then all this time that I didn't have to spend in an office like I did many years ago. I mean, not so many years ago, a few years ago. All this time that I was spending every day in an office, now I can spend it making music.
Hmm.
So yeah, big shout out to all the people on Patreon, on mine and on yours, and on every creator's platform, page.
I think that that is so important. I think people don't understand how important it is for someone who is really creative and to have the freedom to just create
Hmm.
is it's huge because sure, some people they'll say like, oh, I like was coming home after work and creating, but for a lot of people, if you've worked an 8-hour job, like even if it's not like a really crazy job, whatever it is, it still can be just really draining on your creative juices. And and you might get a brilliant idea in the middle of the job and then not be able to develop it. The day-to-day ability of just going back in and following your ideas and developing them and not being drained by something else, that's huge.
Yeah,
It's,
definitely.
yeah.
I remember so many days where I worked, and like I went to work for like 8, 9, 10 hours, then coming home, then opening my computer, starting working on music, and doing it until 2 in the morning, and then sleeping, and then waking up in the morning, going to work, and it was like you said, it was draining. It was
Yeah.
super draining, and sometimes during, I was working, and I was like, oh, I have an idea for a song. Okay, I will take it later. I was. Sometimes I had my colleague right in front of me, and I obviously didn't want to sing. Like, she would wonder what is she doing. So I would just take my phone and slow, like softly whistle the melody, like. And then I would take it back after, and I was like, what did I want to do with this? I couldn't remember. I was like, oh no, I probably had a brilliant idea, but it's dead now.
God, yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely had some good ideas in LA traffic at one point, like when I would record. Like, if the phone's there, you're stuck. You're literally standing still. Okay, here's this idea. It's fun, but I didn't even go like full time into songwriting like you've done. So that's I feel like it's just so crucial to capture the amazing moment. So
yeah, definitely.
well, much kudos, applause, gratefulness to your patrons for supporting you through 2020. That was a beautiful, beautiful gift.
Yeah,
really
definitely.
Cool.
Very, very grateful for this.
Yeah. Well, I think that is gonna wrap up most of my questions. Is there anything else you want to plug, or any other way that people can find you, get a hold of you, hear more of your music?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, both my band and I, bands and I, we have Facebook, Instagram. We are on all the downloading and streaming platforms, and mostly I wanted to say thank you, well, to you and to the people who recommended you to listen to my bands, because it's super nice to chat with you, and also it's very interesting to talk to someone who has so much experience in singing and in music in general.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you for taking time. Really, truly. I know we don't have like an unlimited supply of time, so you've taken a little piece of your life and made it available, and that's just really wonderful. So thank you. And
thank you so much.
I hope you continue to enjoy your tea.
You know what I did? I made a big one.
Oh,
I'm almost done.
Nice.
I have my cup, but I have my.
I had a teapot, but I think it is in the other room currently. But I'm feeling jealous of your massive teapot right now.
Oh,
that's amazing. Well, thank you again. And
yeah, and I'll see you on Among Us.
Yeah,
and,
it's gonna happen,
and we'll see if we're still friends.
The true test. Awesome. Cheers.
Cheers.